Small SUVs are all the rage at the moment, but if you want one that offers a little bit of extra luxury, you'll be needing something German or Swedish.
But which do you choose between the BMW X1, the new Audi Q3 or the Volvo XC40? Now, for all of you wondering where the heck a Mercedes is, well, quite frankly, the GLA is just not good enough to be in these cars' company.
To help you decide, I'm going to compare their design.
It looks a little bit snouty.
Critique their interiors.
A bit odd.
See how practical they are.
It's a bit lively.
And of course, find out what they're like to drive.
It can just get right on your nerves.
But first of all, let's look at how much they cost.
The Volvo starts from around £28,000, and through carwow you can save an average of about £2,000 off one. The new Audi Q3, that starts from around £31,000, and you can save about £1,500 off one through carwow. Finally, the BMW X1, that starts from around £28,000, and like the Volvo, you can save around £2,000 on one through carwow. Obviously, the most important price is the one you actually pay from the dealer, so make sure you click on the pop-out banner in the top right-hand corner of the screen, or on the link below the video, or just simply Google carwow and BMW, Volvo or Audi to check out the prices of these cars and the offers that you can get.
When you do the maths and compare the cars like for engines and equipment and take into account available discounts through carwow, the BMW is the most appealing. Well, on paper at least. But what about in the flesh?
The X1 isn't the chunkiest SUV, and it looks a little bit snouty the way its grille's designed, but it's still quite a smart looking car.
Thing is though, it's not quite as smart looking as the Audi.
The old Q3 looks a bit like a blob, whereas this one has more creases and angles on it, so it's just a bit cooler, especially in this S-line, which has some added sporty bumpers. Yeah, it's a nice looking thing, and this blue paint is wonderful. I love it.
This Volvo may not have such striking paint, but overall, it's the most stylish of the three.
I think this is a really good looking car. It's chunky, it's got loads of presence, it's super cool. In fact, it's so cool it even makes me look... No, it's never going to manage that. I'm never cool.
Thankfully, the Volvo's interior most definitely is.
The interior of the XC40 is just super simple and elegant. It's very, very Swedish, not fussy at all. I like it. I like this as well, look. You've got these driftwood inserts on this inscription model. It's really, really nice. One slight complaint is that if you look around, some of the bits and pieces and plasticky trims don't feel quite as robust as those in the German cars, but I'm splitting hairs, or should that be nitpicking? Anyway, it's got something to do with your head and hair, and it's a complaint.
But will there be anything for me to moan about in the Audi? Surely not, seeing as the company is famous for its quality cabins.
This Q3's interior just feels super modern. I love the angles on the dash, the different surfaces, the way you've got this shiny panel here, and it just looks like a black piece of plastic, but when you turn the car on, the screen suddenly appears. It's all very cool. One thing I don't like so much though is that while most of the materials are very high quality, the door tops are actually quite hard. They're not brittle plastic, but they're just not as plush as you'd expect in one of these kind of cars. It's a bit odd.
And that brings me on to the X1.
One thing you can't fault BMW for is the build quality. So everything is very solid and all the materials feel suitably expensive. I quite like the design, but it's starting to feel its age a little bit now compared to the very latest premium SUVs, especially the dials. Everyone has digital dials these days. These are actual analogs like old clocks. And look at this. This is the standard infotainment screen, so it's a little bit small with lots of bezel.
To be fair, the BMW's infotainment system is the nicest to use, and it's the easiest to operate while you're driving, and you can upgrade to a bigger screen for about £1,000, and even then the cost still works out a little bit cheaper than the equivalent Audi Q3 or Volvo XC40. Both of these two cars come with large touchscreen infotainment systems as standard, and they get digital dials for the driver. And of these two systems, the Audi's is slightly sharper to look at and marginally nicer to use than the Volvo's. The Q3 is also pretty impressive for those in the rear as well.
I find the back seats in this Audi super comfy. You can slide the seats forward if you want to create more boot space, but hell no, I don't want to do that. I want to make it as relaxing as possible. So yeah, I'm going to recline the seats all the way. And look at this, I can stretch out quite a bit. It's really nice. The only thing I can complain about is that with this dark interior, it does feel a bit dingy in here.
This isn't something that's an issue with the more airy feeling X1.
Yeah, it's super roomy here in the back of the BMW. I do like it. There's especially lots and lots of headroom. And it has this function as well, look, slidey. And if you want to recliney, though you're always going to have the chairs in the most relaxing position, which is just like this. Now I'm fine, I could go for a very long distance in the back of this car.
To be fair, it's a similar story with the Volvo.
It's roomy back here in the Volvo, it's definitely roomy. I like it. I also like this big glass roof as well, and the fact that it opens. And despite that being fitted, there's still loads of headroom as well. Normally sunroofs make it really cramped for headroom, but not here. I do have two complaints though. The first is I can't recline these chair backs, and they're a bit too upright for my liking.
This means the XC40 isn't quite as comfy for rear passengers as the two Germans. But if you need to carry 3 people at once in the back, it's marginally the best car here due to its wider body and big footwells. But really, there's not much in it. Fitting a child seat is a doddle in the XC40 too. However, it's not any harder in the Q3 nor the X1, and those two also have ISOFIX anchor points on the front passenger seat too, whereas the Volvo doesn't. Still, the Swede is the best for carrying your stuff.
This XC40 has an absolutely massive boot and no load lip at all. So yeah, slide things in and out dead easy. You can fit the parcel shelf underneath the load floor. Look, there it is. Get it out. Come on. There we go. I'm not going to fit it though. That'd take too long. Don't want you getting bored. And like this, look, you can move this divider into different positions. Then you've got these hooks which you can hang bags off. Really, really very clever. The only thing that's not so clever is that you do have to lean in quite a bit to fold the seats down, but then they go down like under some kind of electrical mechanism. Shane, they only split 2 ways. I'll show you that mechanism again, look. Woo! It's a bit lively.
With the seats folded, you can carry all you could ever want to in the Volvo, and with them up there's 432 litres of space, which is easily enough for most families. The Audi Q3 is almost as big with 420 litres of space, and it's pretty much as useful too.
This Audi has a pretty decent boot. Nice and square as well. A very small load lip, but I'll let it off because I do like this shiny scuff plate. It looks super posh. Love this as well. You can fit the parcel shelf underneath the false floor. The thing I don't like so much is this. If I want to fold down the seats, I have to go all the way round to the back seats themselves because you have to pull tabs near the base to get the seat backs down. There. And quite frankly, I find that a little bit too much like hard work.
Still, unlike the Volvo, the back seats do split 3 ways, which adds to the practicality. And they do in the BMW too. In fact, with the seats down, this car has the biggest boot, and with them up, it's the same story, as it has more than 500 litres of space.
You've got a nice big boot on this car with absolutely no load lip, none whatsoever, so you can just sit on it like that. Absolutely fine. And there's loads of underfloor storage. It's kind of got some stuff in there. I've actually borrowed this car from a colleague, so it's got a few bits and pieces in it, as you'll probably see. You have this 2-stage parcel shelf, and I was going to hope to show you that it fits into here, but it doesn't. It looks like it might, but it doesn't quite. It's annoying, and it is quite flimsy. But I do like this. Look, I want to fold down the rear seats. Yeah, electrically operated. Ta-da! And for that, BMW, I thank you.
When it comes to practicality then, the BMW just edges the other two. But once again, the differences are small, so what's going to decide a winner here is how each of these cars feel to drive. Let's start with the Volvo.
A lot of these small SUVs can just feel like slightly tall normal cars, whereas this feels like a proper SUV, a biggish 4x4. Part of the reason for that is that you've got this big flat bonnet, which makes it feel a bit like a Land Rover to drive. Now the suspension is really good over bumps. It's very, very comfortable car, this. Now you can get it with 2 types of suspension. This is the normal comfort suspension, but in the R design version, you get sportier, stiffer suspension, but it's still always comfy. The trade-off though is this, look, go around a corner and it kind of leans quite a bit. Yes, this car is by no means sporty. When you're cruising on the motorway, it's fine, it's secure, feels solid, it's reasonably quiet, seats are super comfortable as well. It's dead relaxing. In terms of engines, the diesels can be a bit noisy, but they're punchy. The petrols, well, the T3 is too slow. The T4 is a good punchy engine. And this T5 in this car is really fast. You don't really need that, it's quite expensive. Also, you can only get it with all-wheel drive, which you don't really need, and an automatic gearbox. Now the auto is okay. Sometimes when you put your foot down, it can be a bit hesitant, but it's not the worst. And really, overall, I think this car is a blooming nice thing to drive. It's just chilled. It's classic Volvo. Jumping out of the Volvo and into this BMW X1, it feels much more like just a normal car. You do notice that it grips a little bit better to the corners and doesn't lean quite so much when you go round one. It's reasonably sporty, but I wouldn't say it's particularly a huge laugh through the bends. Engine-wise, they're pretty good actually. I'd probably just go for the 118D. This is the 20i, so it's got a 2-litre turbocharged petrol engine, and it's pretty zippy. The best thing about it though is the automatic gearbox. Oh my god, this 8-speed automatic gearbox is so much better than the autos you get in the Volvo or the Audi. The manual's alright as well if you want that. Of course you can get the car with front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, though higher power versions are all-wheel drive. You don't really need it, it grips well enough. Perhaps my biggest problem with this car is that when you're on the motorway and you're cruising along at about 70, maybe a little bit faster, you get so much road noise and it can just get right on your nerves.
As with the other two cars, the Q3 is available in front or all-wheel drive, as a manual or an automatic, and comes with a selection of decent petrol or diesel engines.
When you're cruising on the motorway in this car, it's actually pretty blooming good, you know. It's relaxing, it's very, very stable at speed, this thing. And it's not too noisy at all. You don't get much tyre noise from the road. You get a little bit of wind flutter around here, but it's not too bad. And generally, this is a very quiet car to travel in, quieter than a BMW X1. Now you might be thinking, oh yeah, but Matt, the BMW X1 will clearly handle better when you approach some corners. Well, actually, no it won't. This Q3 is sharper to drive. It seems to just grip better, and it's more intuitive how it handles. It's really quite good actually for this kind of car. Just grips and goes round. I'm quite surprised how well this car actually goes around corners, to tell you the truth. It's definitely a lot better than the old Q3. I can't believe I'm doing like 54 miles an hour around there. Couldn't do that in the BMW. Is it fun? Well, not exactly, but definitely more sporty than the other two. So if it's the sportiest car you want, this is it.
So then, where does all that leave us?
Well, picking a winner from these three is actually really difficult because they're all very, very good. The BMW, I like it because it's practical and it's good to drive. The Audi, it feels really sporty through the corners and it's got that super cool interior. But for me, my favourite is the Volvo XC40. It just looks the coolest and it's the comfiest, and after all, that is what you want from an SUV. And that's why it wins this test.
If you enjoyed this video, please click on our logo to subscribe to this channel, or to watch more content on the bottom right hand corner. However, if you want to save money on a car, click on the right to go to our deals page to see how much money you can save at CarWow.